This is the Bestway Power Steel 16-foot by 10-foot by 42-inch oval above ground swimming pool set, and it turned my yard into a real swim spot without tearing up the lawn or calling a contractor. What surprised me most is how the oval shape makes it fit where a round pool feels awkward, yet it still has enough room for a family to actually use it at the same time. I would put this in the backyard family pool category. It is for anyone who wants a seasonal pool that feels substantial, not a flimsy inflatable, but also does not want a permanent installation. If you have a reasonably flat patch of yard and you are willing to do some basic maintenance, this size hits a sweet spot for fun, cooling off, and a bit of casual exercise. Design-wise, the oval footprint matters more than I expected. In my yard, the longer side tucks along a fence line and leaves open space for chairs and a grill. The depth is about 3.5 feet, which is great for kids to splash and for adults to stand and float, though it is not for serious lap swimming. The steel frame feels solid, and the coating has held up against sun and sprinklers. The liner has a triple-layer feel that is thicker than the inflatable pools I have owned, and the mosaic print inside actually does make the water look clearer and a little more inviting. The set includes a ladder and a cover. The ladder is necessary at this height, and the cover keeps out leaves and slows down evaporation on hot days. The included filter pump is basic and quiet enough, but I will talk about performance in a moment. Setup was more work than the half-hour estimate you might see on the box. I am picky, so I leveled the spot first with sand and a ground cloth, which added time before I even opened the frame. When I did start assembly, there were more pieces than I expected. Doing it solo took me about 1 hour and 20 minutes for the frame and liner, not counting the site prep. The frame connects with push pins and T-style joints, which is straightforward, but holding long sections while lining up pins is where having 1 or 2 helpers makes it go a lot smoother. The whole package is around 148 pounds, so deciding on the exact spot before you start is important because this is not something you slide around after it is built. Once it was up, filling it took patience. The capacity is around 3,500 gallons, which means you need time to fill and then time to balance the water. The included cartridge pump will circulate water and keep surface debris moving, but in my experience it struggled during heavy use weeks. I swapped to a sand filter that I already had. That required simple hose adjustments, nothing wild, and it made a noticeable difference. With sand filtration, the water stayed clearer with less babysitting, and backwashing every so often felt easier than constantly rinsing or replacing cartridges. If you plan to run the pool daily and have more than a couple people using it, I would consider that upgrade early on. Day to day, what matters is how it feels to use. The sides feel stable when the ground is truly level. I did see a bit of bowing or soft sag on the long sides during the hottest stretch of summer. That is common with above-ground frames, and it eased once I checked the level and confirmed the legs were fully seated on their pads. I make a habit of walking around the pool every few days, checking the pins and making sure the legs have not sunk. It takes 2 minutes and saves headaches. The liner has held color well. Bestway calls out ultraviolet protection, and it seems to do its job because I have not seen fading or brittleness. The ladder feels secure for adults and kids, though I did add non-slip pads on the deck side for peace of mind. On the performance side, I judge by water clarity, circulation, and how often I need to intervene. With the stock filter, I was cleaning cartridges and skimming almost every day when we had a busy week. With the sand filter, I still skim daily out of habit, but the water stays clearer, and I can go longer between big cleanings. Noise from the pump is a steady hum that fades into the background. If you sit close to it while reading, you will hear it, but at the far side of the pool or on a patio, it blends in with neighborhood sounds. My chemical routine got simple over time. I use chlorine tablets in a floating dispenser, test strips every couple of days, and a quick brush of the liner on weekends. When I slipped on chlorine for a stretch, the water shifted toward cloudy with a hint of green, and recovering from that took more effort than just staying on top of it. Lesson learned. I added a cheap surface skimmer and later tried a small robotic cleaner for the bottom. Neither is required, but both lowered the daily effort. The cover is the underrated hero here. Putting it on after every swim kept bugs and pollen out and helped hold heat overnight. For real-world testing, I treated it as our weekend hangout. We had a backyard barbecue with 6 kids and 4 adults rotating in and out. The oval shape let the kids play on the long side while 2 adults could float at the narrower end without getting kicked. Nobody complained about space. After that kind of day, I ran the pump longer and brushed the walls, and by morning the water looked good again. On quieter evenings, I like to stand waist deep and stretch or just float on a lounge. The depth is relaxing without feeling too shallow. After a windy storm, the cover collected a mat of leaves instead of the bottom of the pool catching them, which made cleanup a lot faster. A specific use case that made me appreciate this set is cooling off after yard work. I mow and trim in the late afternoon, pull the cover, and within a minute I am standing in water that is just deep enough to bring my core temperature down. 15 minutes of that feels better than a cold shower. The ladder is stable enough to climb in and out with sore legs, and the oval footprint leaves space on the side for a towel and a drink table without blocking foot traffic. There are a few smart touches that help. The inside liner's mosaic print makes the bottom easier to see, so I can spot leaves or small toys that sink. The frame coating handles sun and sprinklers without rust so far. The drain port connects to a garden hose, which let me direct water away from the foundation when I did a partial drain for maintenance. When it came time to pack it down for winter, I learned a practical tip. Once you unbox this pool, it will not go back in like it came. I rinsed, dried, and draped the liner over a few clean chairs so air could move around it, then folded it only after it was fully dry. That avoided mildew and kept the liner from sticking to itself. I stored the frame and hardware in labeled bins so spring setup is faster. There are trade-offs to consider. The stock filter pump works for light use, but I wanted more circulation and went with sand filtration. The sides can show a little bow if the ground is not truly level or if the legs settle, so taking time on site prep is not optional. You do have to commit to regular water care. If you want to set it and forget it, this is not for you. If you want to swim laps or do serious training, the length is too short and the depth too shallow. And it is heavy enough that you should treat placement as final for the season. With all that said, I enjoyed this pool more than I expected. It made summer weekends easier, it kept kids busy, and it gave me a simple way to cool down without leaving home. It looks good, it feels stable, and with a little daily attention it stays clean. If you have a flat spot in the yard, do not want a permanent install, and you are willing to either upgrade the filter or be proactive about maintenance, this is a strong pick. If your yard slopes, if trees dump a lot of debris, or if you know you will not keep up with water chemistry, you might want to rethink or plan for more cleanup tools. That is my experience with the Bestway Power Steel 16-foot by 10-foot by 42-inch oval above ground swimming pool set after a full season of actual use. If you found this video helpful, subscribe to the channel and tell me what you want to see tested next. Drop your questions or your own pool tips in the comments. Thank you for watching.